This is a space that, with the intention of creating presence and trust and love. And everything that you bring here tonight is very welcome. So, my hope is that you will leave today not only with some insights, but with a felt sense of what it's like to be accompanied by me in my online courses. And what I've learned is this: all healing is relational, and presence is the doorway to source. So, for centuries, people have gathered in circles around fires, in temples, in kitchens, and living rooms to remember their wholeness. And a circle reminds us that every voice matters, that we belong, and that healing happens in community. And on your left side, there is someone whose presence supports you. And on your right side, another person's whose energy flows toward you. So visualize that we're in a circle holding hands. Your left hand is palm down, receiving energy from the person beside you, and your right hand is palm up, sending energy to the next person. So let me officially welcome everybody. I really am grateful that you've chosen to spend this hour together. And this is a space that, with the intention of creating presence and trust and love. And everything that you bring here tonight is very welcome. I always like to start by inviting everyone to just take a deep breath and let it out slowly. You can place a hand on your heart if that's meaningful, and just notice the rhythm of your own breath and the beat of your own heart. Here in the circle, there is no above or below, no better or worse. There's simply the truth. You belong. So I'd love to invite you to set an intention for our time together. Maybe it's to feel connected, to hear your own heart more clearly, or simply to receive whatever's meant for you tonight. So take a moment if you'd like, and you could type your intention into the chat so we can all witness it. Or if you prefer, you can actually put something in the chat that's anonymous, so you can just send it to myself or to Gail. And as we take a moment to let people do that, I'm going to invite Gail to step into the room with me. So I will add her and invite you, then Gail, to set the container, maybe explain a little bit about the chat and Zoom and all those good things.
Yeah, sure, certainly. Thanks, Gloria. So for this evening and the time that we spend together, anything that you want to put into the chat, please feel free to do so. If you have a question, I will do my best to answer it, or I'll interrupt Gloria and ask her to answer it. And if you have a question that is you don't feel that you want to have it known that it's you're asking it, you can send it to me anonymously. So up in the chat box, there's a button there that you can click on that says new chat, and then you can just pick my name as opposed to everyone, and then the chat will come directly to me. And then during our question and answer time with Gloria, if you don't want to be on the video, then I would invite you to turn your camera off, because the recording will center people that are speaking. So if you don't wish to be seen later in the recording, then just turn your camera off. Yeah, and I think there'll be some things that Gloria wants us to look at, and so I'll put them in the chat with a link there so that you can have access to them. So yeah, oh, we've got a intention there. That's wonderful. So I think anything else, Gloria, that you wanted me to touch on?
No, but I'm going to find the chat. There we go.
Okay.
Thank you, Paula. Yeah. Okay, well, then we'll go ahead and we will get started. So, blessings to you too, Paula. You're from Singapore. Wow. And it's 8 in the morning tomorrow. You're a time traveler. Look at that. So, your intention is simply to be present and start your day from a grounded place with the intention to bring love and joy into the days ahead of you. Beautiful. And Kate, to learn more about connecting with spirit, your higher self, and clarity. How beautiful. I love that. Yeah. Oh, and here's one is sent to me to open myself to being seen. Mm. I know that's been quite a journey for me to get to where I was willing to be seen, especially publicly. Oh, and here's another to connect more often with higher spirit. Thank you, Jocelyn. And oh, here's one to feel less alone. You know, that's one of my big passions is to create a space where community can gather so we don't experience that felt sense of alarmed aloneness so much. So I just again want to acknowledge the intention for this time together. It's not to have a lecture, it's to have an experience together. So you'll have the opportunity to reflect, to listen within, and to connect. And you're free to remain as anonymous as you'd like. So, as Gail shared, you can send private chat messages to me directly or to her instead of posting to everyone. And at the end, there will be an opportunity for Q&A. And at that point, we will come into more of a community so that I won't be in the spotlight. So again, just turn off your camera if you'd prefer not to be recorded. And or you can just share in the chat. So my hope is that you will leave today not only with some insights, but with a felt sense of what it's like to be accompanied by me in my online courses. Angeline, my intention is to be awake and in love. What a beautiful way to be. Yeah. So, for those of you who may not know me, I'm Gloria Leibecker. I'm the founder of Healing You Sanctuary. And for over 25 years, I've walked with people through trauma, transformation, and awakening. And horses have been some of my greatest teachers, along with life itself. A few years ago, um, I've experienced some really profound loss. My oldest granddaughter, when she was just 24, passed from cancer. And then her little brother, my grandson Isaac, who he died by suicide 3 years later. And so for many years, I had been separated from them by a family rift, and their deaths just totally cracked me open at a whole deeper level than I could even have imagined. And in the grief, I awakened to more lifelong patterns of silence and suppression that I'd held. And I chose, it was a deliberate choice, is to stop hiding. So those losses, they became a catalyst for my course. And and so my courses, they're designed to support others in reclaiming their authentic voice, in and to heal inherited patterns and to live from love instead of fear. And what I've learned is this: all healing is relational, and presence is the doorway to source. So for centuries, people have gathered in circles around fires, in temples, in kitchens, and living rooms to remember their wholeness. And a circle reminds us that every voice matters, that we belong, and that healing happens in community. So, Sacred Circles is a 7 week journey where women gather to explore and embody 7 powerful themes. There's conscious versus unconscious creating, separation and oneness, relationship dynamics, the 4 critical skills of awareness, will, intention, and imagination, creating from the heart, and then celebrating true appreciation and progress, and receiving spirit guidance. So each week, we practice, we reflect, and we share in ways that awaken the truth of who we are. And tonight is a glimpse into that journey. So when you hear these themes, which one stirs something in you? If you'd like, you can share a word or a phrase in the chat. Oh, and thank you, Gail. Your intention is to strengthen your authentic voice and connection with yourself. How beautiful. Oh, and someone's spirit guidance would love to trust them more. Me too. I'm right there with you. So let's step into the heart of tonight's circle with a guided practice. This meditation connects us not only with our own hearts, but with the shared heart of our whole group. So if it's comfortable for you, I invite you to close your eyes, if not just to lower your gaze downward, and then breathe in through your nose and exhale slowly and feel your body begin to settle. Now imagine you are sitting in a circle with everyone who has gathered here tonight. And on your left side, there is someone whose presence supports you. And on your right side, another person's whose energy flows toward you. So visualize that we're in a circle holding hands. Your left hand is palm down, receiving energy from the person beside you. And your right hand is palm up, sending energy to the next person. Notice, what does it feel like to be both receiving and giving? Part of a flow that is larger than yourself. When you imagine yourself in this circle, what sensations or feelings arise? Just simply notice. There may be a sense of tingling moving through your arms or warmth in your palms. Now imagine this current of light and love moving all the way around our circle, flowing in through your left hand, passing through your body, and out through your right hand. See it traveling through each person here, one by one, until it returns back around to you, around and around, endlessly circling. Allow yourself to feel this rhythm, giving and receiving, giving, receiving, giving, receiving. Let's breathe with it together. Inhale as you receive, and exhale as you give. Inhale, receive, exhale, give. Inhale, receive, and exhale, give. What did you notice as you felt the energy moving around the circle? Just simply notice. You may feel a sensation of a wave washing through you, or perhaps a steady hum of connection. Now, in the center of our circle, imagine a glowing pink ball of light, the symbol of our shared heart. It shines like a small sun, radiating warmth and love. Now imagine a beam of light extending from your own heart straight into that group heart. And see everyone in the circle sending their beams of light too. All of our hearts connected to the one heart. Just notice, how does it feel to connect your heart to the group heart? For myself, I'm filled with tenderness, and I feel my chest expand with light. As our group heart grows brighter, it begins to send energy back to each of us, magnified tenfold. So feel that pink light pouring into your chest, filling you with love, lightness, and joy. With each breath, let it fill you up or lift you up. Just imagine seeing it healing your body, soothing your mind, and expanding your spirit. You may even sense the presence of guides, ancestors, or loved ones joining us. And if you wish, you can silently call someone into this circle to receive this blessing. And then just notice who came to mind for you. Who or what did you feel drawn to invite into the circle to receive this energy? I'm drawn to both ask for healing for the earth, and I also brought in a part of myself that needed a little extra love today. Hmm. Now bring your awareness back to your own body and feel your heart glowing like a flower that's opening to the sun. And I invite you to place your hands gently over your heart and take 3 slow breaths, breathing the energy of the group heart into your own heart. And notice how you feel now compared to when we began. And when you're ready, I invite you to gently open your eyes, carrying this connection with you. And then notice, too, what shifted for you during this meditation. I'm popping that into the chat for you. Just what shifted, and what do you notice in your body or heart right now? And just taking a moment just to give yourself a moment to sit with that and to notice that and to acknowledge it for yourself. Mm. I received a note connected, like I'm truly part of something sacred. Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, thank you for opening your hearts to this practice. Of feeling love from my higher power. Beautiful, Jocelyn. This is the essence of sacred circles, remembering that we are not alone, that our hearts are actually stronger when we're connected together, and that healing flows most powerfully in community. We're always creating. The question is, are we creating consciously or by default through old patterns and beliefs? Our subconscious mind is always listening. If it receives messages of fear or doubt, it will create from that space. And if we consciously give messages of love and vision, it begins to create from there instead. And this is what I call the difference between unconscious creating and conscious creating. So let's reflect a moment together. What is one area of your life where you notice you may have been creating unconsciously? Perhaps repeating old patterns or believing a story that limits you. Oh, thank you. I see in the chat, Gail feeling as if I am one with all. There's no separation, and this is love. Ah, and Kate brought in a hug. Beautiful. Oh, so an old pattern. Thank you, Jocelyn. Hmm. Oh, another one, relationships. I keep attracting the same dynamic. That's one I've done a lot of. Hmm. Oh, here. Health. I sabotage myself. Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you for your honesty. The beauty is awareness is the very first step. Because once we begin to really see it, to see the pattern, whatever it may be, we are then empowered to begin to choose differently. So, in whatever area came up for you, if you could create consciously in that area, what would you love to create instead? What would that look like for you? Mhm. Oh, vibrant health, of course. Yeah. Um, and a relationship of mutual respect. Yeah, reciprocal relationships are beautiful to experience. So, really noticing, okay, I receive love from people outside of my home. At home, there's struggle. Yeah, well, I want to acknowledge that that's really, that really can be really common. It's so much easier, in my experience, to keep our hearts open to those that we don't share those habitual patterns with. They're more of a new relationship, perhaps. Whereas at home, we can feel much more vulnerable and fall into a lot of patterns of even feeling taken for granted or taking others for granted. And and those dynamics, when we don't have shared reality around them, they can become more and more deeply embedded. Mm. More thriving. You would love more thriving, yes. And really beginning to recognize, well, what's that look like? To be really specific about what that looks like to thrive. You know, that's something I've spent some time around recently, to thrive. Um, for me, one of the things would be to experience a sense of freedom in every aspect of my life. Hmm, that would feel like thriving, to have freedom, the freedom to be, say, or do whatever comes into the flow for me without, well, just with an open heart. I love freedom. Oh, there's a understanding and a willingness to slow down and really see others without any right or wrong attached. That's really a skill set to develop, to even recognize, because so many times it can be unconscious. And we're not even consciously aware that we are assigning those definitions to either ourselves or to others or the world. It just is totally unconscious. And I want to acknowledge that the reason for that is because when we're first born and we're first growing in our lives, that we receive imprints in our environment and from those beings that are around us. And that's how we then begin to absorb those generational patterns, especially if we were born into a home that they didn't have awareness of the patterns. It's just the way it is. I can remember my parents saying, well, that's just the way it is. It's like, end of story. You know, you can't get, what they say, you can't get blood out of a turnip. I said, well, that's a true statement, but I'm not sure. It's like to recognize, not to make them right or wrong, but recognize whether somebody is actually open-hearted or if they're kind of a closed circuit. A closed circuit isn't open to receiving new information. And so there can be really strong patterns in the world where this is the way it is. And so it's what it's been meant to mean. And when we can begin to recognize what we've made things mean, and then another layer under that is we can recognize that, oh, I learned to make it mean that because I remember my mom, or I remember my dad, or oh, that teacher I had was really convincing. So there's different places that we are in relationship with others when we are young and vulnerable and like a sponge, that we just absorb these like they're truths when they're actually not truths. It doesn't mean we're going to go back and blame anybody. It's different to actually recognize the impact that an experience had upon you and the impact it had about what you then made it mean about you and your life, about others in your life, or about the world that you live in. Hmm. I love this, Paula. Deeply blessed, connection and flow, joy to receive and joy to give. I love the joy stuff. Yeah. And when you're in that state, just notice how that impacts your whole system. Notice the sensations in your body. Notice even the way that your body posture is when you are breathing that reciprocal joy in and out. There's a difference when we are in that receptive and giving state versus when we're, in that place of contraction and resistance. We close up. And that closing up, again, not to make it wrong, to recognize that the survival system has been activated. And there's a really good reason that it gets activated. And my heart's desire is to slow time down so we can bring care to that contraction and just take the time that's needed just to sit with it and be with it. And then this experience has it's a whole different felt sense. In my experience, when I started to allow myself to be accompanied in that way, oh my gosh, I was like, what's going on? This is kind of weird. I don't know about this. And it really took courage to be willing to sit with it. And I'm all tensed up and sitting with it. And as I just allowed there to be time without judgment, I'm like, I could start to notice my shoulders drop and my body relax, and I could start to breathe a little deeper. And I hadn't even realized that what I'd done is I'd started shallow breathing or even holding my breath. And I recognized that was the way I grew up, where I was holding my breath or I was breathing really shallow, not to draw attention to myself. And that had a big impact on my whole life because it flooded my system with cortisol, and it activated me, and I had this stress reaction that was kind of over the top. And I didn't pay attention to me because I was so busy paying attention to my environment, looking outside of myself. And so it's been a journey to develop the ability to notice that activation and to slow it down to come and accompany that and notice what I notice when I accompany it without judgment, but with compassionate understanding. It's like, oh, well, no wonder. Yeah, I get that. Yeah, and I'm here with you. Just really taking the time to be in your experience. Most of us have not experienced that in our life, or most people that I've met. And if you have, then you are blessed. And when you have that experience, then it's like a gift that you've received that the gift can keep giving. You can then pass that along to another being, and then they get to have that experience. And that again is a big piece of these sacred circles, is to allow people to come into a space and begin to have experiences that are radically different and take time with that and really develop a language for the sensation and for the emotional flavors, and then to even recognize those unconscious thoughts to allow them to start to become conscious, and that it's safe to actually name the unnameable. That's different. And yet when we can experience that it's safe to be vulnerable and to name the truth, for me, I was like, oh my God, I did that and I didn't die. I thought for sure I would die if I ever said that. If anybody ever found that out, they'd run like crazy the other direction. They wouldn't want to have a thing to do with me. It's not what happened. Actually, people would come to me later and say, thank you for naming that. I had a very similar experience in my life. And I was able to develop relationships of trust that, allow people to realize that there's nothing wrong with them, that is part of our experience as being born human. But most of us are not taught how to deal with these inner voices that can be so harsh. And just really, nobody's harder on you than you. And to develop the ability to have compassion for that, that's, I find it much, well, there's more grace involved when you're in community. For me, when I started in these groups, I could then recognize myself in another woman, and I could see myself in a whole new way. It's like her story was actually my story. It was just a different scenario, but it was really a lot of the same kinds of thought patterns and emotions, like hijacking. You're familiar with the brain in the palm of the hand. This is the brain stem here, Daniel Siegel's model, and the thumb comes across as the emotional alarm system or the limbic system. And then the fingers coming across as the prefrontal cortex. And the middle two fingers here is the middle prefrontal cortex that anatomically connects them all three together. And that's where our wisdom can come from. It can arise within us when we're connected with Source. And when we get triggered, whoop, we flip our lid and we don't have access to that anymore. Now we're just, the emotions are running the whole show. And if it doesn't feel safe, then you're going to have the experience I did. If I felt like I couldn't run away, or if I couldn't be strong enough to fight and protect myself, then that one would go away too. And I just go into immobilization. I wouldn't have any words. I just leave my body pretty much. And it takes a while to come back from that. So I would be filled with shame. But when all these emotions get disconnected from the body, they get stuck in the body. And so what I find to be so helpful to really gently and tenderly bring back the body is time travel empathy. And that's where you can actually slow time down to actually drop in and notice and begin to see what age is that part of you. Where is this part of you? Who else is there, if anyone else is, or just to start to bring your senses in, your smell, your taste, your hearing, all the different things, they all are super glued in there when you've had a traumatic experience. And what dissolves that super glue is that felt sense of accompaniment that you trust. Trust allows you to name what was unnameable, and that truth is what will set you free. And the more we are able to exercise that trust in relationship with another being, the stronger that can become. And then we can then become someone that can vibrate at that frequency with others that allows them to come back. So when people flip their lid, you can accompany them to come back. And when we're little ones, if we didn't have that, then we don't have that inner mental model of what's possible. So I just want to acknowledge just how important it is, because we all flip our lids. I flip my lids several times a day. I've developed ability to come back to myself and then make a repair with myself, or call somebody up and say, hey, you got a minute? I need some support, and allow myself to receive that support. So when we have these repeating patterns, or we believe this story that limits us, then it really does have a huge, huge impact. Um, oh, I love this. I just now seen the chat with Kate saying, get up excited to do what I want to do. Share love and connection. I'm part of a circle where each day we've had a 30-day challenge. And so we're we were sharing in our chat section where there's a prompt, and then we're going to be really honest. We're going to name the truth about what it's like to be us. And so part of it is naming, what do you love, right? And you just name and get really in detail about everything that you love. And then another day, it was like, what stops you from doing that? What are the stories you tell yourself? What are the beliefs? What limits you? And to really just take, 5, 10 minutes and just let yourself write it out. Don't filter yourself. Just write it out and be honest. Well, I can do that okay. But I tell you what, sometimes it might be challenging to allow yourself then to share it, even if it's in a small group, to actually share that truth with others. And what I've noticed is that when I share it, even though it feels edgy, or maybe because it especially feels edgy, that I have this deepened sense of softening. When there's a compassionate understanding, when there's acceptance, when someone says, "Oh, yeah, I get that. I have something very similar happen." So so anyway, what I'm doing this time around, I'm answering everything really honestly and I'm posting it. And then I'm reading what other people write. And I'm recognizing that we all share this journey. One way I like to see this is it's the hero's journey. We're born in our greatness. We're born from spirit, right? And we come into this life, but we don't remember who we are because we're so little. And we get imprinted by all these others that are around us and by the culture that's around us. And then we might have some things that happen and we go into hiding and we don't want someone to see us. And so when we continue to go on our journey, we can then meet a guide, someone that maybe has been on this journey and they might recognize us and they may greet us and they may see who we really are and accompany us. And then we have that accompaniment, like I was talking about. And we can start to get to know ourselves as we're known by others. To know and be known is one of the greatest gifts in my experience. And then it gives us the courage to go out and maybe face our own inner dragons that we've got and recognize that maybe they're not the horrible, fierce beasts that we thought they were. We can start to recognize how they were created and made to seem like they were monsters, but maybe they're not. Maybe they're friendly dragons. And maybe when we actually befriend them, we can get to go on journeys with them and they can take us, we can soar and fly to greater heights and even to different worlds. And we can receive the gifts that our younger selves has been hiding, thinking that they were unviable or nobody else would like them. And when we can bring them out into the open, we have a new experience because others recognize the gifts that we may not have recognized as gifts, and they reflect that back to us. Wow. And then we can actually bring our gifts to others. And that's that circle with the group heart. We receive the gift and we extend it on. We don't need to hoard anything. There's more than enough for everyone. So we get to come into an open and an expansive community that allows these ripples to continue to manifest, to continue to expand. And that is something that's luxurious, in my opinion, my experience. And I just want to I want to take just a moment, take a pause, just acknowledging that sometimes when we come into circles like this, that can come up that we didn't expect and we may feel triggered. And it can take us a moment to come back. I know that's happened to me before. years ago when I was in a parenting circle. We didn't have Zoom, so we couldn't see each other. And I'm so glad at that time because the way I showed up, I was just so mortified. But here I am in a parenting class, and my child comes up and he's being really loud at me. And I can't hear what's going on. I'm really wanting to learn how to be a good parent, and my child's not letting me pay attention. And I just lost it. I got so triggered, and I screamed and hollered at my child. And then all of a sudden I was like, looked, and I thought, oh my gosh, was I off mute? Did they all hear me? I'm such a horrible parent. I'm like, oh, I was so mortified. And when I finally calmed down, I realized that nobody heard me. But boy, did I beat myself up. And then I realized on so many different levels what actually had happened for myself. And I made a repair with my son, but the even more important repair was to make with me. Instead of making myself bad and wrong, to recognize what actually was underneath that experience for me and to be able to name that. So I actually did because I was an assistant for that. And, if you're an assistant, you should be able to know better than that. And the instructor was able to really hold a space for me that acknowledged that that's part of our learning curve is how to recognize when we've kind of gotten flipped our lid and how to help develop our ability to bring ourselves back until we're actually accompanied by another. That's really a challenging thing to do. I've received so much support for years. And and I don't want anybody to think, oh my gosh, it's going to take years. It's going to take the time it takes, and allowing it to be what it is an important part of this work, this way of being. I don't really see it as work anymore. I see it more as just the way it is. It's like, oh, that's not like my parents. That's just the way it is. But it's the way that it is for everybody. Everybody goes on this journey and has these experiences of being triggered and coming back and developing their ability to hold space within themselves or allow themselves to receive support. So just really noticing what you have noticed as far as your patterns and what's those possibilities for being able to do something different. And then once you see it, you can choose to take action on that. So as we come, I want to get to spend a little time in a circle of appreciation. And I love the circle of appreciation. So let's honor the progress that you've already made today or in your life up to today. So if you imagine that you're standing, if you create a circle just is a defined area, and you call it this is your current reality. Perhaps you can draw a circle on a piece of paper if you have a piece of paper there, and you could write current reality, and you could even jot down any doubts or struggles or tensions that you've noticed. But if you intentionally step into that space, it's constellation work. You can notice what does it feel like to stand there, even if it's just, imagining standing there. And as you stand there, you just recognize what's it like in my life right now? What's going on in my life? And you just take a moment with that. Just noticing what's obvious to you about where you are. What do you have doubts about? What seems kind of tough? Noticing how it feels. What do you tell yourself there? What are the things you still need to get over or take care of before you can um, be happy, be content? Just note a few things. And then I invite you to step out of that circle and kind of shake it off a little bit and draw a second circle. And in the second circle, I want you to write true appreciation. And as you step in here, now you see not only the challenges, you get to see the actions that you have already taken in your life. And you get to acknowledge the ways that you have shown up. Acknowledge the love that you have given and the healing that you have allowed. Recognize as you stand here, I mean, you can look back at that other circle. You see how far you've come on your journey. It's really super important to acknowledge this. So take a moment and just note down some ways that something you appreciate about yourself right now today. And if you'd like, you can share it in the chat so we can witness you. You can be celebrated in community and have some accompaniment. Because those action steps, those are important. Those are valuable. Here's one. I appreciate that I keep showing up even when it's hard. Well, sometimes that is a really hard thing to do. And I want to acknowledge it's okay that it's hard. It doesn't have to be easy, because it's really, really important. The cost is too high not to show up, in my experience. Oh, I love this. Got more motivation to do my to-do list. So the circuits of emotion and motivation are getting activated. Beautiful. Yeah. I appreciate my resilience without losing my compassion. Yes. I say a hell yes to that. That's so important. Yeah. And that resilience, that is a muscle, and you're growing that muscle. Yes, I love that. Hmm. Oh, I love this one. I appreciate the way I love my children. Hmm. Yeah, I resonate with that one a lot. And sometimes that's not easy either. I just want to say, and that's okay. Remember, this is a place where whatever arises, we welcome it. And so this is really a big part of being in sacred circles. Oh, yes, I totally get this one. This, have appreciation for being open about what's happening in your own reality. That to be open about that is that's a muscle to grow. So when you can do it with one person, you can recognize, okay, I can do this with this one person for as long as I need to do this with that one person. And then you can begin to grow the ability to do it with one more person. And you just take your time, however much time you need. That's what I did. And that really did serve my life. And ability to be with myself in kind ways and not leave myself alone. Mm. To even realize that that's what we've been doing, and to have compassionate understanding for how we would leave ourselves alone in order to survive something that felt unsurvivable when we were little, or even just our yesterday person, our yesterday self. Some things can feel like we can't survive them. So this is the heart of sacred circles, is it's celebrating progress, both the seen and the unseen. Because what we do appreciate, it truly does expand. So what you've experienced here tonight, it's just a glimpse. And I want to extend an invitation that you can book a call with me if you'd like to have a chat, and you can explore new possibilities with me. So I think Gail's going to pop the link in the chat. And it's just an opportunity. It'll be 60 minutes set aside just to focus on whatever you would like to have support in. That's my gift to you. And to consider being a part of the full 7-week Sacred Circles journey. And I'm realizing that I don't think I've got that link up. So I'm going to grab it really quick, see if I can find that so that you can actually read a little bit more about it. But we gather weekly for practices like this. Here we go, Sacred Circles. Found it. Um, there we go. You can take a peek at that. So there's meditations, there'll be teaching pieces like there was tonight, sharing circles, and deep reflection. And together we explore conscious creation, healing relationship dynamics, and moving from that sense of separation into oneness. And there's just really so much more. So the enrollment, it's open now, and the space, it's limited in each cohort. It's limited to 6 in a cohort in order to create a sense of intimacy and safety. So if your heart is whispering yes, I would love to welcome you into a sacred circle. And also, there's a small gift for you as a thank you tonight. And Gail would pop the link in. There's a download of a reflection worksheet. So you can review the practices that we shared today so that um, yeah, I like to be able to reflect on things and then I deepen into it, especially if you go back and you watch the recording and then you can go through it with the reflection. You may find that to be supportive. So before we officially close, I'd love to open the space for your reflections or questions about tonight's experience and about sacred circles, or even about what it means to live as a conscious creator in your own life. So again, you can either put a message into the chat or you can send it anonymously if you'd prefer, or you could raise your hand and say, I'd like to speak up. They're all welcome. It's up to you. So here's one. One person says, I loved the meditation tonight. Will you be doing more of these in the course? Yeah, every single session includes guided processes similar to the group heart meditation, which is really about connecting with your own heart and the collective heart and the energy of creation. The meditations, the whole intention behind them is to help you attune to presence and to expand your own intuitive connection week by week so that it grows it grows your ability to develop that resilience more and more. Here's one more question. Do I have to share in front of others to participate? Again, I want to just acknowledge that you're always free to participate in the way that feels true for you. Some people love to share aloud, and others prefer to listen quietly and reflect in their journals. And there's never any pressure to do anything a certain way. The circle honors every way of being. You still receive the energy, the insights, and the transformation, even when you choose silence. That's okay. Oh, thank you, Jocelyn. I appreciated the exercise, drawing circles and naming challenges and celebrations. Yeah, that's a fun one there. Another circle that you can do, there's 3 different circles I like to do, is and actually it would have been nice if I'd thought about doing this tonight. I guess we did start with naming what you really love in life. You start with that and you just really dive deep into that and preface it before you draw your circle. It set the intention, like I invited you to set an intention tonight. And I set the intention to be of service to my highest and best self and to receive the benefit of the exercise. And then when I do that, then I step into my heart, step into innocence, and I start to name what's obvious to me there. Now, starting with what you love is a beautiful thing to do before you step into your current reality, because sometimes stepping in my current reality just triggers the heck out of me. And so when I have that love juice to help me, um, it just really helps to ground me. Um, my roots get strong that way. Oh, you're welcome. I gotta thank you for leading us through the circles. Always a learning experience. It is for me too. It really is for me too. Um, so how is this different from other personal growth courses? Well, this journey, the intention isn't about fixing you. It's about remembering your wholeness. So what I like to do is integrate neuroscience with energy awareness and ancient circle practices to create relational healing. That's where transformation happens. It's through that heart connection. It's not through performance. You can't get it wrong. So you'll learn practical tools like the circle work process and the four critical skills of awareness, will, intention, and imagination, and then how to measure your progress through that true appreciation. So this is a real experiential unfolding rather than a step-by-step program. And if you can't attend every session, it's okay. You can listen and you can rejoin the energy anytime. In fact, I'm somebody that like to come back and rewatch because I pick up new levels of awareness when I do that. And many participants have found that listening later brings really powerful synchronicities because the group heart, that field, it's timeless. Um, and one more here is like, I feel drawn, but I'm not sure I'm ready. That's okay too. It's a beautiful awareness. Readiness isn't about having it all together. It's about listening to your heart's whisper. When something is stirring in you, that's your invitation to at least have the chat with me. So this work really meets you exactly where you are, gently, lovingly, and in your right timing to trust that. So again, you can schedule a free transformation call with me and feel into whether that's right for you. And so again, I think I'll just drop that in the chat. Even if you just want to have a chat, that's okay. I would welcome that, especially after getting to see you here. So, ladies, thank you so much for showing up and for your beautiful presence tonight. What you've experienced here, the sense of connection, the openness and peace, it is the essence of sacred circles. So if your heart's whispering yes, I'd be honored to walk beside you in the next chapter of your journey. So I invite you to take one final deep breath together. I'm choosing to put my hand on my heart and the other one on my belly. And simply appreciate the love that has moved through this circle. Mm. And remember, all healing is relational, and you already belong.